How's it going, everybody? My name's Artorigold, and today I'd like to talk about goats. Primarily how to beat goats, the strategies you should utilize, and lots of other little things that could help you because the strategy is really difficult to counter. Well, first off, goats is mainly a strategy that teams use where it's 3 tank and 3 healers. There's actually quite a variety of characters that you can use. And in this game, the enemy team starts to use goats, especially here you'll see in the future. And I'll definitely go more in detail about some of the strategies that we use. Primarily for this game, I'm going to be playing Zenyatta and Lucio. And when you run goats, the Reinhardt is pretty much the most necessary character in a goats team comp. So what Reinhardt enables is he enables for you to get onto the point, and he's also going to be your primary damage dealer, and you're typically going to run 3 healers, and there's different varieties of healers that you can run. Lucio, Zen, Brig, Moira. Pretty much every healer is viable in goats, except for Mercy. Most people don't run Mercy in goats. Her healing has been nerfed to the point where Moira is a much better candidate for healing, for raw healing output. And if you run a Lucio, you typically run it for the speed boost. And if you run a Lucio, you probably want to get a Brigitte. When you get a Brig, you're able to deal damage. You have more tankiness on the point. And typically when it comes to the strategy for goats, you want to have a Rein Zarya. That's pretty much staple. And then you want to have a Moira or Anna for your main healer. And then you always want a Brig as your third healer. And then the second healer, you kind of want to go either Zenyatta or Lucio. You want those for a few reasons. Lucio's speed boost is what you want to enable yourself to engage with the Brig and Rein because they have a tough time initiating and getting people into their kill zone. But other than that, they both apply defensive ultimates for your team, which is something you really need, especially if you're running like a Moira, because eventually Moira will probably run out of her heal, her juice, whatever you want to call it. And once that happens, then the comp really starts to go down. And Moira is kind of the key to the goat strategy, and you'll see later we're going to run goats as well too. But Lucio, when you do that, you kind of want to focus on using your speed boost to get to the point. That's the main strategy with that. And then if you're playing Zenyatta, your primary focus is actually dealing damage and staying in the back, and then using your Transcendence aggressively to get people healed up. So here we're going to see the enemy team use goats on their turn to attack, and on ways to deal with goats is something I really want to talk about. So there are a few ways that you can deal with goats, and one of the main strategies is to just out-goats them. In other words, you run your own goat strategy and you try to beat them that way. And we're going to do the same thing. So we have Moira as our main healer and Brig as our third healer, who's going to be like our off healer but dealing damage on the point. Rein and Zarya is extremely necessary. Whenever you run triple healer, you probably want to go either Zen or Lucio. Lucio helps enable the Brig and the Reinhardt and also keeps people off of the Moira. Now, one of the varieties you could do, instead of choosing like a Roadhog or D.Va for your third tank option, what you could also do is you could try to throw in a random DPS hero to try and help enable and counter the goats. For example, you could use, in this situation, a Genji or a Doomfist. Both are really good because one of the main reasons why goats is so strong is because of the Moira healing. The Moira healing is what's going to enable the tanks to stay alive. So the key to beating goats is to destroy the main healer. If you focus the main healer, then the goats will just fall apart. So Doomfist is extremely good at just getting in there and one-shotting, because one of the best ways to deal with 3 tanks and those 3 healers is if you do sustain damage like a soldier or something like that, you're not going to be able to out DPS the 3 healers. So picking a character that can dive, that can just do burst damage is what you want to run. So Reaper is good because of the burst damage, and you can really help focus targets. You can also run a Doomfist, which is extremely good at one-shotting, really powerful right now. So here, as you see, I'm going to keep my Discord on Moira as much as possible, and we're going to drop down to the point eventually, but not quite yet. Don't feel like you need to go down onto the point. Use the high ground advantage the best you can. So here is Zenyatta, what I want to do is I want to get line of sight, and the best way to get line of sight is to actually go over to this room over here to the right, because then if I go down here, I just get perfect line of sight, and I can hit everybody in this angle, and especially when running against the goats, you're going to see I get my ult charge extremely quickly as Zen. which is something I'm going to move over here. Problem is, if you have a Zenyatta instead of Lucio, you will be lacking healings. So you got to make sure to call targets, call whoever you are discording so your team can focus. That is one of the most vital things that you can do against goats if you're playing as Zen, because you're going to deal damage, and discord is going to really help you focus a target down, but you need to make sure your team has the follow-up on that. So here, I'm going to just go ahead and call all the targets, and you're going to see, I'm going to get Transcendence, and pretty much, I think I use it almost instantly here, because I have yeah. So as soon as I get Trans, I'm just going to use it, and we got the Moira ult, and there's no way we're going to die, so we just have enough time for my Zenyatta to just be, or enough time for my Reinhardt to be enabled. So here, I'm going to retreat to the health pack. I got my Moira who's healing me. I'm basically just a DPS hero as Zen. And that's how you should play. So it's really tough to defend. They did get one tick on us. As you can see, a goat's fight will typically last a long time. It's basically a battle of sustain. It's a sustain fight. Who can sustain more? Who can get their ult quicker? And other thing than that is who is going to have the Moira die first, right? That's the biggest thing about goats. If you're able to kill the enemy Moira, then you'll notice the goats are just, like, the strategy just doesn't work without Moira. She is the key to it. Anna is okay, but Moira's healing is so strong right now. So here I'm just keeping the discord on the D.Va, which allows my Zarya to get a lot of energy too. And I'm just going to go back into this high ground. Unfortunately, they get a really good, they have a bunch of their ults right here. As you can see, my Moira's going to be getting her ult super quick, like every time. Because Moira has so much healing right now. So I get another Trans, but I'm going to die. Unfortunately, it just wasn't worth using. I think I'm going to swap off Zen and actually go Lucio here soon, because Lucio actually helps enable more damage, especially because the speed boost is so good at Reinhardt and Brig to catch up to people. But I want to use my Transcendence first. So here, I'm going to call targets. I'm definitely going to make sure my team knows who to focus. And I'm going to use Transcendence, I think, fairly early here. There's no need to hold on to your ultimate against goats, because they don't have a Dragon Strike, they don't have Dragon Blade, they don't have a DPS ult that your Transcendence is going to counter. Typically, you want to use your ult for a thing like Earth Shatter, because that's basically what your Transcendence is good for. Zenyatta is definitely decent against goats, but Lucio is definitely better on offense. Here we're doing a pretty good job. One of the things that we should do is Moira should be using her ult as much as possible, because she's going to get it back so quickly, and this is looking really bad. Unfortunately, they have so much health. I think they're going to get this here, actually. Pharah is also a reasonable counter for goats. Unfortunately, I'm just not able to do anything here. See, that's one of the things about goats. They force you and bully you. You would think strategies like Bastion would work better against goats, but honestly, it has a really tough time because Bastion can't burn through all that health and healing quickly enough. It's just not good. Typically, they'll have a D.Va or Zarya. Zarya is always going to have high energy, so that's one of the big problems with it. We're trying our best to play against the goats rather than going into the goats versus goats strategy. I see that we have a Reaper, and when you have a Reaper, speed boost is really good for the Reaper, so I'm going to choose Lucio over Zen in this situation. So Doomfist is really good to counter goats because he can one-shot the Moira, and the Reaper is really good to apply pressure to the tanks. So here we're going to go ahead and catch them as they move in. We want to make sure that we just get everybody in here and we stop their aggression, right? As long as we have our Reaper, what we need to do is focus the Zarya a lot too, because if we let Zarya live with high energy, she's going to get grav. And one of the main win conditions for a goats is their graviton, because the Zarya is going to get so much energy charge in a sustained fight. Zarya with 100 energy is really easy to get whenever you fight long battles like that, and they're getting all these healing from Moira and stuff, as well as the other two support like Brig and Lucia or what have you. So you got to be really careful about the Zarya. Reinhardt is going to enable the Zarya to be a threat. So you don't want to try to kill the Reinhardt early on, although Reinhardt is going to be another big DPS. He has all the armor. One of the things that, with goats is you want to use your ult pretty quickly. I think I used my ult here soon too. Yeah, you do not want to hold on to your ults in goats, especially if you're playing as, I mean, either a DP, if you're playing a healer or if you're playing a tank, you're going to get so much ult charge so quickly. See right here, I really want to push this Zarya because I do not want her to live. If the Zarya lives, she's going to have another graviton. Like her graviton will just be so quick. And you never want that. So the main priorities is to focus the enemy Moira or an Ana. If they have an Ana can be pretty easy to dive. If not, then you want to go for the Zarya. So here they're switching things up. They're going to a Roadhog, which is interesting. Roadhog's pretty good in a Goats combination because his hook is really deadly against things like a D.Va, but we don't really have that. So I actually don't like the Goats variety in their situation here. So we're going to go ahead and speed and engage here. Always use your speed boost because you have 2 other healers, and that'll be it. Actually, I think in this situation, I am the second healer, right? Yeah, no, I'm actually the second healer, so I need to use my speed boost, but I need to make sure I'm on healing a lot. So that was a mistake. Me going on the walls was a little too aggressive there because they had all of their ultimates, and we didn't. I think we might swap some things here. So some other characters that are really good at playing against Goats are Pharah, because the enemy team's not going to run anything to touch you. If they have a D.Va, then that'll be basically their only way of dealing with a Pharah, and Pharah can just sit there and just pummel with rockets. For the same reason, Junkrat's really good, because your bombs are just going to hit everybody, right? So I just focus on getting your ult, because you can get it really quickly. I'm already almost to another beat. Unfortunately, I get hooked by the Roadhog. His hooks are really good here. But I think my team's playing aggressive enough to the point where it doesn't matter. And we're going to try to stagger as much as possible. Staggering is always really good. So one of our main things that we can do here is we can use our Graviton with Doomfist ult, which is a really good way to sort of kill the healers. The problem is we have to really watch for the Moira. We'll be able to get Lucio and Brig with that every time, but the Moira Fade ability, she can use that to get out of Grav. So you have to be really careful about that. So I'm going to drop a beat really quickly here, I believe, because this is just a lot of pressure. So you want to use your ult as quickly as possible, but you don't want to use it. You want to use Lucio ult when your team starts taking damage, and then use your beat, and then you can heal them up while the shield is protecting them. It's the most efficient way to do it. So here we're going to try to stagger them as best as possible. Doing really good. But unfortunately, they still have one more push. So far, we're doing really well against the Goats, and the main thing to focus on, as Lucio, I guess, in this instance, is to focus on booping the Roadhog away. Booping the Roadhog away so he can't get hooks is a big thing. If you can boop a Moira, it's not going to do anything. She's still going to heal. She's still going to do her life drain. She can fade. But booping the Roadhog is usually the best thing to go, because then he's going to have a really tough time trying to get hooks. Unfortunately, they just clutch it at the last second. Wrecking Ball is a new tank that's also interesting that could be used in Goats, because he's really tanky, really hard to kill, but I don't think he's up there. I think I would rather have a Roadhog, Zarya, or D.Va as my third tank. If Wrecking Ball would be into a Goats comp, it would have to be on a certain map with a lot of verticality or a lot of places that he can use his grapple hook on. So we're going to go ahead and try Junkrat out at this point. Junkrat's really good. Doomfist is still really good. I think Doomfist is our main thing to combo. Not only is he really good in Goats to one-shot, but he's also going to be that win condition for our Zarya grab as well. Another hero that's decent if you can get a lot of damage in is Hanzo. Problem is, like, you're not going to shoot at the Reinhardt shield, right? Hanzo's Dragon Strike is really good against Goats if you have a Zarya grab. I mean, it's going to kill all of them, right? But if you pick a Hanzo, you're not going to win from the team fight. You'll probably win just from using your ult in combination with Grav. So Hanzo is more of a you need your ult to win against Goats. So here, you definitely want to use your ult early. I'm thinking about using it. Yeah, that was good. My Doomfist was kind of low. And you want to get aggressive. Use your speed. No, there's no point even healing when you drop the beat like that. You just leave it on speed. Let your team do all the work. Speed enables my Reinhardt to get close right into the kill zone. And see, now they're going to try to stall with Pharah, but it's, I mean, they're at a big disadvantage. Good grab. Grabbed them right off the point, actually. So as you can see, their Goats comp is just falling apart here because you have to swap to the right characters, right? Goats can completely destroy people who don't run the counters. For example, if you were to run a McCree or a Soldier, it's not going to do anywhere near the amount of damage you need to defeat Goats. One of the things to note is if you run an Ana, because you could run an Ana instead to also defeat Goats. And the reason why Ana is good is because they're trying to sustain fight. And if you land a huge anti-nade as Ana, it completely takes away all of their healing, which is something that Goats desperately needs in order to work, right? So Ana is also a really viable pick, but it's also hard for her because if the enemy team's gonna push up on her, then she's gonna have a really tough time because usually Goats is gonna run the Lucio Brig and all the tanks, so they're just gonna run at the Ana, and if you don't get a good anti-nade, then it's gonna be really rough for you. Another thing to take note is if you run something like a Widowmaker, it's going to do pretty much nothing against Goats. It's one of the worst picks. I mean, you might be able to get a pick on the Moira, but it's very unlikely because they're going to be having a Reinhardt shield to protect them and probably Diva, Defense Matrix, or Roadhog. They're just going to have so much, meat and body on the point that you're not going to get anywhere with Widowmaker. What we will see in the future potentially is Torbjorn, once his update comes out. I could see his Molten Core ultimate working really well against Goats, but it's hard to say until we really see him come out. The new Pharah changes will definitely make her really good. She's going to do more direct damage, which is going to be really easy for Pharah against a Goats comp. Reaper is a really good strategy too in order to beat Goats, but if you run a Reaper, I highly recommend having a Lucio for the speed boost so he can get right into their faces a lot easier, and the Wraith form, he can have more escape potential with that as well. Zenyatta is decent against Goats, but you probably don't run it over a Lucio. I think Lucio is better against Goats, unless the enemy team has some sort of crazy damage combo that you can cancel out with your Transcendence, but typically that won't be the case. One of the things about Goats is it's not good on payload maps. It's not that good on King of the Hill maps. You typically only want to run it on 2CP, because 2CP is you're fighting over that one objective point, and it's the best way to just get your team on there and just bully them out. The things to take away from Goats: make sure to swap to a Reaper, Pharah, Doomfist, or if you can get away with it, try a Bastion, and try to play it slow and focus targets down. You really need to be using your microphone and tell people who to focus. And if you are running that Doomfist, that one-shot mechanic, you need to make sure that you are focusing the Moira. That is the most important target. If you can't get her, go for one of the other two healers. Going for the Lucio or a Zenyatta is also pretty valuable, but Moira or Ana are going to be the biggest things that you want to go for. Anyways, I had a really fun time with this game, and I really hope that you guys learned a couple of things about Goats. And make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.